Hi everyone, it's Pile again. Today I decided to make a video about Overwatch versus Paladins and the difference between the two. I'm making this video mainly because I recently got into the beta for Paladins, and I've been in the beta for Overwatch since the very first wave. And so I've been in the beta for both. And when I got into the beta for Paladins, I tried looking this up myself. I tried finding a video or some articles really explaining, really what's the difference? Like, should I even try Paladins? Is it really any different than Overwatch? They seem pretty similar just from, gameplay videos. So I decided, you know what, if no one else has done this, at least a good one. There are a couple videos up, but they're of people who aren't even in the betas. They're using, promotional or press release videos as their video of one game and not the other. So I decided I'm going to make a video from someone who's actually played both of these games and is actually in the beta for both of these. So here we go. So here I am playing Paladins from Hi-Rez. Hi-Rez has been known for Smite. They made Tribes Ascend. I think that's it. Anyway, this is Paladins. The idea here, as in both games, is you're one member of a team. It's a character-based first-person shooter. You pick a character at the beginning, and they have certain abilities. You can see in the bottom left there. They have a mount in this game. That is one thing Overwatch doesn't have. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It's just you can mount up and move faster. And so basically the idea is your team and their team, obviously, is fighting over these points on the map that you just stand on in sort of like a battlefield style of capture the point until you stood on it long enough that it turns to your side. When you get it to your side, you see the siege engine right in front of me right now. This thing spawns and starts rolling toward, well, either yours or the enemy's gates. You can see at the top there's 3 gate HP bars. And so the idea is you just keep fighting over these points and then pushing these siege engines while the other team tries to blow up the siege engine to defend their gates. And the first one to blow up all 3 gates wins. That's it. So every game, you're basically playing both offense and defense. It's kind of just you're fighting over a point and you're trying to not let them ever get a siege engine so you don't have to play defense, but sometimes it happens. Overwatch has very similar mechanics. Here you see we're attacking a point. I'm standing in it until it turns to our side. And then once it turns to your side on this particular map, then a payload comes out and you have to escort it along a line to the end. This is very similar to Paladins. Although Overwatch has varying maps. This is one thing I've noticed so far, is while playing Paladins, they capture a point and then push the siege engine seems to be the same regardless. And this one is, there's varying maps with varying objectives. Some maps you're just capturing points, and you just have to capture one point after another until you win. Other maps, it's all payload from the beginning to the end. And then other maps, it's some combination of the two, like in this one, where you have to first capture this point on King's Row, and then once you get the point, this weird little space truck comes out, this hover truck, and you have to just stand near it, and it moves forward. And if the enemies can get you off of it, it stops moving. And if they stand near it, it'll even start moving backwards, but very slowly. It's clearly designed that it's not really meant to be a tug-of-war per se, and that the enemy can push it backwards. It's more, they're just supposed to try to stop you from ever pushing it forward in the first place. The difference here is Overwatch splits the teams into offense and defense right off of the get-go. So you know going into the match whether you are going to be trying to push the truck or whether you're going to be trying to stop them from pushing the truck. The offense wins if they complete their objectives. The defense wins if they simply prevent you from doing it for so much time. You can see there's a timer at the top there. If they can prevent us from moving the truck to the next checkpoint for 3.5 minutes, then they win. Now, if we reach the next checkpoint, we get an extra 2 minutes added to our timer. And that keeps going for each checkpoint. There's usually 2 or 3 checkpoints at least. So that's the idea. So the defense can shut you down pretty hardcore, and a match can go quickly, or the offense can conversely just wipe the floor with the enemies and just push this thing into the end very quickly as well if they just like never manage to stop you moving it forward once. So games can be over very quickly. When it comes to the way the game is played, sort of the objective, both games are pretty similar. I give a nod toward Overwatch in this one just because there's slight variance in the stages, and I guess, you know, variance is good. Also the maps. Let's talk about the maps. The maps in Overwatch are pretty, to say the least. They're smaller. They're definitely not as large as they are in Paladins. So Paladins has the larger maps. Overwatch has what I think I would call it the more detailed, better looking, and I'll just say it, better designed maps. I prefer the maps in Overwatch. There's less open space, but everything makes sense. It feels like every part of the stage was put there for a reason. So, you know, there's walkways overhead where snipers can sit, but there's usually multiple doors and like back alleys and ways you could try to sneak in if you're more of a close range character. It all makes sense. It's efficient, it's well done, and, well, I mean, it's Blizzard, and it's just got higher production values. Let's just put it that way. Now, I'm not saying I dislike the maps in Paladins. They're just more, you can see this, I just ran into this little glitch where, anyway, they're bigger. As you can see, I'm running 160 meters to my point. You can see they're huge and wide open and sprawling. And for some people, they may prefer this, and it's okay. You can see when you get in here, they still have the walkways and the alleys. They still do all of the things Overwatch does. It doesn't look quite as nice. It's not quite as detailed and graphically appealing. Let's say these buildings, they're kind of blocky. You know, the ramps are all kind of, it's, you know, it is what it is, but it serves the purpose. So if you're into more of the wide open game, then you may prefer this. Although, strangely, this game has these huge, wide open, sprawling stages, but I didn't really see any sort of like, normally you'd think this would be a good map for a sniper, let's say. And they don't really have the same kind of sniper like they do in Overwatch. Where Overwatch has, you know, the quintessential one-shot, one-kill sniper. This game doesn't. Which we'll get into in a minute about some other gameplay differences. But when it comes to maps, I gotta go with Overwatch on this one. But some people may prefer this wider, open style of outdoorsy sort of map. If that's your bag, you know, roll with it. I ain't judging. So while we're here, because this seems like a good point while I'm shooting at this tank, let's talk about two different major gameplay differences between these two. While they're both similar, they're shooters, characters, objective-driven, blah, 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 there are two differences I noticed right off the bat when I started playing Paladins. And the first is time to kill. In Paladins, you can really pump some ammo into people. Like, they do not go down quickly. It's a thing. It's a big thing. In Overwatch, people can die almost instantly. You can score a headshot, and I mean, you can one-shot kill quite a few people. But in Paladins, they really take a beating. Almost everybody does. Even the highest damage-dealing characters still do not one-shot anyone by any stretch of the imagination. They take a whooping. Which is fine if that's your bag. Once again, this is going to be a difference between the two that may make or break the game for you. It'd sort of be a deal breaker one way or the other. Personally, I'm not attached to either style. I don't really care if it's... sometimes I like longer to kill because, you know, you get more time to shoot at each other. That's fun. But it makes the weapons lack impact. They don't feel like you're shooting a Gatling gun that would rip someone apart in milliseconds, you know? It's a thing where, you know, so like in Overwatch, people die very quickly and you can headshot people, and that's a big thing. See, that part does bother me. is while I'm okay with it taking longer to kill people, I'm not attached to the one-shot, one-kill sniper or anything like that. I am attached to the headshot. There is no headshot in Paladins, and I'm really not a fan of that. It doesn't matter where you hit them, you do the same damage. Where in Overwatch, there's headshots. Everyone can score them except for those shooting beams, or, well, actually, that's not even true. Zarya can do it with a beam, but except for those shooting projectiles. Like, you can't headshot with a rocket or a grenade, for example. But you can headshot with almost everyone else. So, going for those headshots actually becomes a big part of the gameplay. And a good McCree player... the way you tell a good McCree player from a bad McCree player is basically how often he can score those headshots, especially at close range. So I think that is something that just detracts from the overall skill cap available to you to improve upon. As you get better at a shooter, you're just going to get better at scoring headshots more often. It's a skill you can improve. And you can be really impressed by that Widowmaker in Overwatch, who just seems to score headshots on a character flying through the air, and just pull off like these amazing shots consistently. And you can see that in a kill cam or a play of the game and be like, damn, that guy's good, right? Where in Paladins, you mostly just keep your reticle on their chest and hold it down until they die. And it usually takes a while for people to die. And then that's that. So once again, I go with Overwatch on this one just because of the headshot. I'm not, like I said, I'm not attached to the kill time. So don't get in the comments and lambaste me that I don't like Paladins because it takes longer to kill people. That's not it at all. I don't actually care about that. But I don't like that there aren't headshots. The headshot doesn't have to kill them instantly, but that you can do a headshot that does like double damage or something. So the final thing I want to talk about is characters. Paladins has 8 characters right now. There's a few tanks and supports and damages in there. It's clearly not as fleshed out as Overwatch. Overwatch has them beat with 21 characters at this current time. You can't really judge them on that. Both of these games are in beta, so none of them are near release. I can't say that, Paladins might have more characters than Overwatch by the time it goes live. Who knows? But as of the time of this video, in the early beta for both games, Overwatch has 21 characters to Paladins 8. And then that kind of rolls into pricing. Let's talk about pricing, or how these two games plan to make their money. Paladins looks like a free-to-play game. There's a store button at the top of the page. It looks like they're going to maybe sell heroes and skins, the normal thing. Normal free-to-play model, where Paladins, or rather Overwatch, is a buy-it-up-front game, get all the heroes. Although they're coming out with skins, so I'm not entirely sure how that's going to play. I'm guessing you buy it up front, all heroes are unlocked, but then you can also pay more money for skins? I guess that's what they're going to do. We're not real sure at this point in time, but it's a buy-it-up-front. It is not a free-to-play game. So those are the big differences. And finally, I almost forgot, one of the big differences that Paladins does have going for it. Personally, I didn't find this too compelling, but it's definitely a gameplay aspect that Overwatch just does not have. And that is this card system right here. You can make these cards out of other cards. You get them at the end of games. So there's sort of this like collectible card game going on inside the game. And you use them to, they affect your abilities in ways like, there's plus 40 explosion radius on the screen there. Consecutive attacks stack and do damage, or make you do more damage for each consecutive attack in a row. And also, there's numbers at the bottom of these cards, you'll notice. Every card gives you, the red number is a percentage bonus to damage for taking that card. The green number is a bonus to your HP total for taking that card during the game. And you get to use first you make a deck, but then you get to use these cards during the game. In casual, it's kind of random cards, so you don't have a whole lot of choice. But and I guess Constructed isn't in yet, but the idea is eventually you'll be able to make these constructed decks. So there's a bit of character customization in Paladins that Overwatch just does not have. I personally didn't find it super compelling because I don't know why. Normally I like customization, so don't get me wrong. It's definitely a thing, but I think the lack of headshots really killed me. That really killed me about Paladins. I think that's what it just comes down to for me, is the lack of headshots really made me just not dig it as much. Plus, just the overall polish of Overwatch is better. And, you know, it's Blizzard. Everything Blizzard touches turns to gold. So it's that. It's going to be hard for Hi-Rez to compete with Blizzard when they're both making a very similar game. And that's just what it is. I mean, it's hard to go up against Blizzard and stuff. Although they're not doing so great in the MOBA market, so it's not impossible. It's just difficult. So, all in all, that about sums it up. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, tell your friends, spread it around on Reddit or something. I'm a small-time YouTuber and streamer, so I need all the help I can get. Hopefully this video was helpful to you, and game on. Have fun, my fellow nerds.